Welcome back to the operations room. I'm Jules Sterling, and we are looking at an absolutely packed board today.
Look, and I'm Dan Miller, ready to call the plays on a market that's finally showing some real muscle.
I'm Elena Rossi, and I'll be the one making sure we don't ignore the fine print in all this excitement.
And you're listening to Buck Reynolds, just a man who's seen enough miles to know when the road's getting interesting. And believe me, it's getting interesting.
Well, okay. Yesterday we were really deep in the weeds with those GXO and Cummins financials. Dan was all fired up about the market's backbone. And we touched on that agentic AI from Forkites, right?
I'm still bullish on that backbone, Jules.
Actually, I'm still processing those East Coast port investments we discussed, but today, the energy is shifting to the ACT Expo in Vegas. And honestly, it's a lot to cover.
Well, it's a solid lineup, I suppose. Just a lot of folks in fancy suits talking about trucks they aren't actually driving yet.
Sort of, Buck. But the money is getting very real.
It's a great show today. We're looking at Tesla breaking records, driverless trucks hitting the Texas Triangle, and a $166 billion windfall that's about to hit the industry.
I want to lead with the news out of the ACT Expo, because the numbers are, well, they're significant. According to Truck News and Globe Newswire, WattEV just placed a $100 million order for 370 Tesla Semis. Right? It's the largest electric truck procurement in California's history. They're looking at having the first 50 units by the end of this year and the full fleet running by 2027. Exactly. And 300 of those are going straight into drayage at the Port of Oakland.
Look, this is the play we've been waiting for. For years, the Semi was basically a unicorn, right? We'd see one on a trailer or doing a Pepsi run, and everyone would freak out. But 50,000 units a year coming out of Nevada? That's not a pilot project. That's a takeover.
Here's the deal, though. You can buy all the shiny batteries you want, but if you're sitting in Oakland with a dead unit and no plug, you're just a very expensive paperweight.
Well, that's the thing, Buck. WattEV isn't just buying the trucks. They're opening megawatt-capable charging depots in Oakland and Fresno. We're talking about Tesla's Megawatt Charging System, MCS. It can reportedly add 300 miles of range in 30 minutes.
I'll believe the 30-minute charge when I see the grid capacity report. Actually, my thing is the liability of that charging infrastructure. If the depot's transformer blows, you have 300 trucks that can't move. That's a concentrated risk profile that would make any underwriter sweat.
I knew you'd go there, Elena. But, I was thinking about what we talked about last month with Target's last mile investments. They were struggling with those high megawatt power requirements too. It seems like WattEV is betting the farm that the infrastructure is finally catching up.
It's the crossing of the chasm moment, right?
Jumping the shark.
Come on, Buck. Tesla's reaching high-volume production. When WattEV CEO Salim Yousafzadeh says they picked Tesla over the competition based on cost and performance, that tells me the silicon trucks are starting to beat the legacy OEMs on the balance sheet.
Well, they don't smell like a truck. If I can't smell a failing wheel bearing because the thing sounds like a golf cart, I'm already at a disadvantage. Actually, it's more than that. Who's fixing these things when they break down in Fresno at 2 a.m?
Well, the partnership with the Port of Oakland is the real anchor here. If they can prove electric drayage works on this scale, the California experiment is over and the national rollout begins.
Speaking of things rolling out, Dan, you were looking at the autonomous side of the house?
Oh, I was. Look, the commercial inflection point isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's happening in the Texas Triangle. According to the Post-Gazette and FreightWaves, Aurora and McLean Company, the Berkshire subsidiary, they just moved from a pilot to fully driverless commercial hauls between Dallas and Houston.
Fully driverless? Like no human in the cab at all?
Zero. No safety driver.
And what's the safety record they're basing that on?
Right? But here's the play. It's a hybrid model. The virtual driver handles the middle mile, the long, boring stretch of highway, and then human drivers take over for the last mile to deliver to restaurants and grocery stores.
Here's the play I see. You've got a computer driving an 80,000-pound rig through a Dallas thunderstorm. I've been in those storms. You can't see the hood of your own truck, let alone the sensors. I don't care how many miles you've logged in the sun, Texas weather is the great equalizer.
But Buck, the tech is getting so precise. And did you see the news about California? They actually just lifted the ban on heavy-duty autonomous trucks.
That's the real headline, Jules. California was the last major domino. By lifting that ban, the nation's largest freight market is officially open for business. That changes the risk assessment for every carrier in the country. You can't ignore the efficiency gains of a truck that doesn't need to sleep for 10 hours.
Exactly. And Volvo's already pushing it. Volvo Autonomous Solutions just launched a 200-mile route between Dallas and Oklahoma City. This isn't just a Texas thing anymore. It's an interstate network.
I mean, I'm just saying. You lose a sensor or a piece of road debris kicks up and smashes a camera, that truck is sitting ducks until a human can get there. That's a commercial inflection, right up until the first major pileup.
I mean, you're right to be cautious, Buck, but the data is getting harder to argue with. 100% on time? That's better than most of the human-led fleets I manage for my retail accounts.
Actually, let's talk about the money that's actually in the bank. If I may, there's a massive windfall coming that almost no one is talking about yet. According to White & Case and EP Logistics, the CAPE portal is now live.
CAP? Is that another AI thing?
No, it's much more tangible. It's the Consolidated Administration and Processing of Entries portal. Remember the Supreme Court ruling in February? The Learning Resources case?
Oh, the one that struck down those IEEPA tariffs?
$22 million a day in interest? And it's just sitting there?
Well, the portal launched in late April, and we're hearing that the first tranches of refunds are going to start hitting bank accounts as early as next Monday or Tuesday, May 11th and 12th.
Wait, so a company like General Motors, I saw they're expecting, what, $500 million back?
$500 million, yes. But here's the Iron Lady reality check. Only about 21% of refund requests have been accepted so far. There's a huge gap between the big guys who have their ACH setups ready and the mid-size importers who are still fumbling with the paperwork.
Look, that's a liquidity injection into the supply chain that we haven't seen since the stimulus days. If carriers and shippers suddenly have that kind of cash, we're going to see a lot of equipment orders. Maybe for those Tesla Semis Jules was talking about.
Or they'll use it to pay off the interest on the shadow market loans they took out while they were waiting for the refunds. There's a whole industry of lenders popping up just to bridge the gap for these tariff refunds.
So the government takes the money, holds it for years, and then we have to hire a lawyer and a portal specialist just to get it back? Typical.
Well, speaking of things getting complicated, I should probably mention who makes all this data crunching possible for us.
Oh, here we go.
Hey, before we move on to the FedEx and AI stuff, I want to take a quick second. Strategic logistics requires world-class engineering, and this show is actually powered by the stack developed by Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media. He's the architect behind the code that keeps us on the air.
And his work is what powers our daily briefings.
Right. So if you want to support the man behind the machine, visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Neural Network Media. You can get a free trial and access to our daily briefing PDF, which honestly is the only way I keep all these tariff numbers straight.
Nice segue, Jules. But look, let's get back to the quarterback of the industry, FedEx Freight.
I love this story. Incoming CEO John Smith was at the ACT Expo, and he called AI the quarterback that can anticipate every blitz before it happens.
Another sports analogy. I'm shocked, truly.
Hey, it works. But the numbers he shared are wild. They use technology that measures freight while it is moving. This has increased their cube utilization by 12%.
12% is massive for an LTL operation. That's pure margin.
And empty miles are down 15% across their network. They're getting ready for that big spinoff on June 1st, and they're using AI to prove they can be leaner than anyone else in the game.
My favorite part is the smart trailers. According to Phillips Connect, these new sensor-heavy trailers are actually extending asset life by 50%. If you can tell exactly when a brake pad is thinning or a tire is losing pressure before the driver even feels it, right?
I mean, I've been saying that for 30 years. It's called a pre-trip inspection.
I knew you were going to say that.
No, I'm serious. I'm glad the smart trailer is finally catching up to what an old-school driver does with a hammer and a flashlight. But the thing is, here's the deal. Only about 15% of carriers actually have the data quality to make this AI work. Most of these fleets have data that's a total mess.
He's right. If your data is garbage in, your agentic AI is going to give you garbage out at the speed of light. And that brings me to the regulatory side of this. Buck, did you see the Mac MP13 news?
I did. And honestly, it's about time someone talked about something that actually burns fuel. Mac officially pulled the curtain back on the MP13 at the ACT Expo. Up to 540 pounds of torque and 1,950 foot-pounds of torque. It's their answer to the 2027 EPA standards. But here's the kicker. We're all waiting on the EPA to drop this new draft rule in June. That's the one. It's an 80% reduction. But the industry insiders are saying the EPA might walk back the extended warranty requirement. They were going to force manufacturers to cover emissions for 10 years. Now it might stay at 5.
If they drop that warranty requirement, the price hike for a 2027 truck could drop from $15,000 to maybe $7,000 or $8,000?
Exactly. And that changes the pre-buy math for every fleet manager in the country. If the trucks aren't going to be as expensive as we thought, maybe people won't panic buy as many 2026 models.
It also means the long-term risk shifts back to the carrier. If the engine fails in year 6 and there's no warranty because the EPA blinked, well, that's a huge liability. Actually, I prefer the longer warranty, even if the sticker price is higher. It forces the OEMs to stand by their tech.
Well, moving from the road to the rail for a second. Dan, this Southeast Mexico Express upgrade, that seems like a big deal for my retail clients in Atlanta.
It's a huge play. CPKC and CSX just slashed transit times by up to 45% between Mexico and the Southeast. It really is. Monterey to Atlanta is now a 3-day service. They're bypassing the congestion and using a direct interchange in Myrtlewood, Alabama. They're targeting the near-shoring boom. Everything that used to move by truck on I-35 is now looking at that rail line.
So we're just going to let the railroads take more of the freight? Good luck with that. Ask anyone in Alabama how consistent those rail interchanges are.
Buck, you're so cynical. But honestly, I'm more worried about the ghost carriers. Alina, you saw that FreightWaves report about Columbus?
It's a scandal, Jules. Investigative reporters found 97 ghost carriers on a single stretch of road in Columbus, Ohio. One stretch, East Dublin-Granville Road. These are entities with active DOT numbers, but zero records of inspections or audits. They are basically shell companies used to double broker freight or hide safety violations.
I mean, I've been telling you. You see these Medicaid millionaires popping up with a fleet of 10 trucks and no drivers? It's a shell game. It kills the rates for the honest guys and makes the whole industry look like a bunch of cowboys.
It's sort of heartbreaking, right? Especially when J.J. Keller says that almost 50% of pros rank staying up to date on FMCSA. The good guys are trying so hard, and these ghosts are just haunting the system.
Actually, it's a failure of the C-suite. The study shows that the most successful fleets are where safety is driven by the leadership, not just the compliance department. If you're not looking at the Columbus corridors in your own network, you're part of the problem.
Look, speaking of the C-suite and leadership, we have to talk about the main event today. The end of an era in Bonn, Germany.
Oh, the Deutsche Post rebrand?
Yes! CEO Tobias Meyer announced they are officially dropping the name Deutsche Post AG and rebranding the entire parent company as DHL AG this autumn.
5 centuries of history gone.
5 centuries! Since the Thurn and Taxis postal service in the 1400s. But look at the numbers. Only 1/5 of their revenue comes from domestic mail now.
I mean, sort of makes sense, right? 90% of their revenue is already coming from divisions trading under the DHL brand. Why keep the postal anchor if you're trying to be a global logistics utility?
Exactly. It's about signaling to investors. They're distancing themselves from a shrinking letters business and leaning into the high-growth stuff, like GLP-1 pharmaceutical distribution.
That's the Ozempic effect on logistics, isn't it?
It really is. The GLP-1 era is putting massive pressure on cold chain and specialized distribution. DHL is basically saying, we aren't the guys who deliver your grandma's birthday card. We're the guys who deliver your life-saving, temperature-sensitive medication.
And they're not alone. GXO just reported their Q1 results, and they have a record $2.7 billion sales pipeline. They even dismissed the idea that Amazon is a threat to their business.
I remember GXO being very bullish yesterday, too. But Amazon is expanding. They're basically opening their entire shipping network to outside businesses now.
Here's the deal. Amazon wants to be the utility. They want to be the water and the electricity for your business. But once you're hooked up to their pipes, they can turn the valve whenever they want.
He's not wrong. It's logistics as a utility, which is great for efficiency, but terrifying for independence.
But that's the market evolution, right? You either become the platform, like Amazon or DHL, or you find a specialized niche that the platform can't handle.
Well, okay. I think that's our board for today. Buck, what's the word for the folks starting their week?
My takeaway? Don't get blinded by the Vegas lights and the quarterback metaphors. Whether it's a Tesla Semi or a Mac MP13, your business still runs on the pre-trip. If your data's a mess or your drivers are cutting corners, no amount of AI is going to save you when the DOT comes knocking. Keep an eye on those 2027 warranty rules. That's going to decide how you spend your money next year.
Well said. Keep an eye on the relationship behind the data, because no computer can shake a hand.
Look, the market has backbone. Just make sure yours is stronger than the competition's.
And remember, a windfall of tariff cash is only a victory if you have the documentation to keep it.
We're out of here. We'll see you tomorrow in the operations room.